So last week's topic was on iBooks, not iBooks Author, just iBooks. So if you are on Maverick, then you have access to the iBooks bookstore. If you are not, then the only app that you'll find on your computer is iBooks Author. Now keep in mind, if you have not updated to Maverick, then you are free to do so and are actually encouraged to do so because you will need it for next year. So to find iBook, you can click on the spotlight in the upper right-hand corner and then type in iBook. And you'll notice that I have two application hits, iBooks and then iBooks Author, and I'm looking at iBooks today as a precursor to iBooks Author. When you open up the store, it is just like if you walk into a bookstore, so there's a wide variety of content from books that are geared towards younger children all the way up into adult topics. So just keep that in mind as you're navigating through the iBooks store. I'm going to look at two specific areas within the iBooks store today, as well as how to navigate through using an actual iBook. Over here on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a free books section. Now, the free books section is filled with, as well, a wide variety of books, but the ones that I'm interested in the most are those that fall within the nonfiction category and the fiction category, because some of those that you can use within your English literature class. There are also other books such as cookbooks and how-to guides and a wide variety of other sort of resources in that regard that you can access. Now, once the iBooks store actually loads this section, you'll notice that the very first section that they have listing books contains books that are recommended. So there's a bunch of different ones on here, iPad user guide, and then like the Lego movie guide and stuff like that. They also have usually their book of the week, which is a free iBook. And this week it's The Positive Dog from John Gordon, but this one usually changes every week. Now, the fiction and literature section here is sorted by bestsellers, and you can change the sort by clicking on bestsellers and then selecting a different sort category through that. And of course, it's taking a little bit longer for it to load for me today. But once you find a book that you want to read, then you can click on the free icon. And in this case, I'll click on this one just to give you an example. So if I wanted to add The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes into my iBooks library, then I could click on free and you'll notice that it's already downloading. So that will add it into my library, which I'll show you momentarily. The other aspect of iBooks that I did want to make everyone familiar with is if you're back on their homepage, if you choose a category, then you can go to their education subcategory. And their education category contains all kinds of different books, but one of the ones that I'm interested in is the textbook section. And that's where you're really going to see a big difference in what you can do through an iBook versus what you can do through a regular textbook. But there are also a lot of other pieces within here. Some of these classic literature books, if you're looking at them and they are older, then it's likely because they're modified in order to take advantage of the iBooks format. So if it's a book that you can sometimes find free, but these ones are not, then it's because someone's modified them, included links. Some of them have audio files and all that sort of stuff. Most of the classics you can find for free, though. And then there's also a large section of things like test prep, as well as a whole section on made just for iBooks. So there's a bunch of resources here. If you have a student that's looking for information about a specific unit, then you can look there. And then also on the right-hand side, just keep in mind that you can sort, for example, just looking at the top free textbooks that you'll see over here. And then there's also iTunes U collections and iTunes U courses. Now I'm going to look at the iBooks textbooks, because these are some really good examples, as I said earlier, of what you can do with an iBook that you can't achieve with a regular textbook. So looking at, for example, the life sciences category, there are textbooks in here from a bunch of different publishers, but one of the ones that I've seen the most frequently used would be books, obviously, from Pearson and books like that, but then also the CK12 Foundation books are free, so you don't have to pay for them. That makes them a great option if you're looking at textbooks that you can use in your class. You don't have to worry about buying those, and the kids can easily access them, assuming that they've updated to Maverick on their own. And then there are also a bunch of different ones, for example, flowers and all that sort of stuff. So we'll look at this CK12 Biology Interactive Edition. I've already added it to my account, so it would show up in my library over here. It shows up right here. And you'll also notice this is where you'll see The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So let's check out the biology textbook first, just to give you a glance as to why these are so cool. Now, from looking at it very first, it overlays on top of our other windows, but we can use these blue arrows, or these arrows in the upper right-hand corner, to make it full screen. So this will help diminish the chance that our kids get distracted with other materials. When you hover at the top, you also have other options as well. This one over here is to bookmark. So if I wanted to bookmark this section, then I could just click on the bookmark symbol. And it may not let me do it because I'm on the front page. There we go. So then I can bookmark this page. Okay. And then if I wanted to change it or see my other bookmarks, then I can look through here. I've worked with one teacher at the middle school who really liked the idea of being able to use an electronic book like this one, or an electronic copy such as the Sherlock Holmes book that I'll show you guys, up on her overhead, so that way she could annotate it and then her kids could be paying attention to the paper copy, and using the bookmark section will make it really easy for you to navigate from one section to another. It also gives you the ability to search either by word or page number the entire book. And then looking over here on the left-hand side, you see the icon to bring you back to your iBooks library. You also have the ability to pop out a table of contents that you can easily click and navigate through. You can expand out and look at different sections. And then finally, you can pop up your notes section over here, so that way you can study your notes for later. Now I'll make this full screen. Okay, so as you are navigating through your iBook, one of the cool things is that as we get into a section, okay, it has a lot of graphics. It also has an easily clickable links to different things. So this one, if I click on it, it will bring me back to where I can find a definition of it, and then I can easily navigate back towards the other section that I was on. And then some of these other ones, if I click on them, images will expand, so no more like squinting at the little icon that you were looking at in a regular textbook. And then finally, there are additional pieces such as this one that let you click through and get further information about each component. So if you're used to looking at a diagram in a textbook, then this is a way of really looking further in depth into those diagrams. Other books have videos built in, presentations, links. Google Forms can be included in iBooks, all kinds of fun stuff in order to make them a lot more engaging and interactive for our students. And those are things that you just can't achieve with a regular textbook. And in this instance, you know, like I can click here and it will bring me up to a video that I can see on YouTube. Again, you can't do this with a regular textbook. The only way that you'd be able to see it is if you actually went out and Googled it yourself.
Nature. Enormous and magnificent, and so beautifully explained with science. Yet in science...
Okay, so pretty awesome resource all in one location. So knowing all of that, you can hopefully understand why this would be a really cool piece to consider for your own textbooks. And these ones are, as I said, 100% free. You don't have to worry about paying for these ones. So now we can click through and see the whole stage, for example, moving through the frog metamorphosis. And then we do have the ability to study. So if we set up, like this one has flip cards already, so this would give me some glossary terms from chapter 1 that I could then study. So if your kids are used to making their own flip cards, then this could be one way of using it as well. You can color code, highlight, all that sort of fun stuff. Okay, so then I'll navigate back onto my iBooks library so we can look at an older text. So we'll look at Romeo and Juliet. Keep in mind the same functionalities still apply. We can make this a full screen. And because this is a regular iBooks book, we're able to actually change the formatting of the book. So you'll see here that I have a dark background with light text. If your students do better with dark on white, then you can do that. And if they're better with sepia, they can do that. They also have the ability to change their fonts as well as their font size. So if you have a student who's harder vision than another, then they can easily change how the book looks to them, and no one will be any wiser. It will just happen and no one will have to know. They can annotate a book by selecting the text, control clicking on it, and then they can add highlighting, underlining, or notes within the section. Of course, I get the spinning wheel of death. Okay, so I can add any of these 5 colors of highlighting as well as underlining. This could be especially useful if you work in a classroom where you're working on those literacy techniques like over at the high school we've been working on. You could set up a color key so that, for example, all the time that they highlight with yellow, it's something that's important. Anything that's pink is a question. Anything that's green is something that is that makes sense to them, that you can set up a color code for yourself in order to make it easier for your kids. You can also add the notes section to it, so if you highlight a text, then this is really important. You can add in your notes, which will show up on the left-hand side because I have the notes panel open. And then finally, the other awesome thing about it is that if you highlight a whole passage of text and then go to more, you can either search Wikipedia, search the web, or you can have it start speaking it to you.
Enter Romeo. Rome. If I may trust the flattering truth of sleep, my dreams presage some joyful news at hand. My bosom's lord sits lightly in his throne, and all this day an unaccustomed spirit lifts.
Okay, so that's the Alex voice. That's one of the most standard voices that you'll find within the text-to-speech for Apple. But they also do have female voices, more male voices, and then you can also change the language as well. So if your student would do better by reading along to a voice, then that could be just a little bit of extra help for them, especially if you're looking at some of these older texts like this, then it really might help boost their understanding. So there's a lot of really cool things that are available within iBooks and the iBooks books themselves. If you find a book that you're interested in using, then as long as it's free, your students are able to download it without a problem. If it's a paid text version, then they can download it as long as they have an iTunes account, but keep in mind that it's not something that you're paying for, it's something that they are paying for. If you have any questions at all, or if you're interested in exploring iBooks or electronic books more for your classroom, whether it's for this year or next, then feel free to let me know.